Cal Habawa Yadallah AHAYAH Hashem Yashaya Wahak Kwadash Wawak. Ephesians chapter 6 verse 11. Put on the whole armor of AHAYAH, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of AHAYAH, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Yashaya, everyone, brothers and sisters. For anybody new, I just said peace and greetings on the Sabbath. My name is Rawchaa, and of course, as usual, I have here with me my main man, Makaahla, and now the Meek One. He'll be reading scriptures today. We have some current events to go over with you, just a few. And let's see, the name of today's lesson is The Fallen Ones and Their Judgment. But before we get started, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to our Heavenly Father, AHAYAH, AHAYAH, Bahashem Yashaya, Wawawa Kadash. And let's have Makaahla, as usual, lead us off with the Shema.
Sisters, your heads covered.
Yes, Salakia, go ahead, Ahch.
You gotta go ahead and tell them. You got it.
Any sisters that we have out there, you need to have your heads covered. That's in correlation with 1 Corinthians chapter 11, the first 5 verses. All men have your heads uncovered. Okay, Ahch, lead us off.
Shema Yashaya AHAYAH AHAYAH Nawa AHAYAH Ahch.
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 Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, our power is one. Well said, Ahch. Like I said, the name of today's lesson is The Fallen Ones and Their Judgment. But before we go into that, got a couple current events going on in the earth this week I wanted to touch on, as usual. There's a football field size asteroid that could hit the earth this year. We'll read that. And it says, an enormous asteroid with a diameter wider than a football field has a roughly 1 in 7,000 chance of hitting the earth later this year. However, it's nothing to lose sleep over. Known as asteroid 2006 QV89, the space rock, which has a diameter of 164 feet, could potentially hit the planet on September 9th, 2019. According to a list of the most concerning space objects compiled by the European Space Agency, the ESA has 2006 QV89 ranked 4th on its top 10 list. According to current modeling, it's likely that 2006 QV89, which is on the risk list but not priority list, will pass Earth at a distance of more than 4.2 million miles. The ESA does note that the likelihood of this model being off is less than 1/100 of 1%. Okay, and of course there's more to read on that article. If you're interested, I would advise that you do so. And it kind of brings to mind a script, Revelations 8, 10 and 1. You want to read that for us? The book of Revelations, chapter 8.
I'm sorry. Can you tell us where our article came from?
That article is from foxnews.com. Thanks for that, sis. I was trying to mention that. Remember to mention where these articles come from. Foxnews.com. Okay, in the book of Revelations, chapter 8, verses 10 and 11.
Revelation chapter 8 verse 10. And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers, and upon the fountains of waters. Verse 11. And the name of the star is called Wormwood, and the third part of the waters became wormwood, and many men died of the waters because they were made bitter.
Okay, thanks. Now, we're not trying to say that that's what this rock is.
Revelation 1.
That was Revelations chapter 8, verses 10 and 11. We're not trying to say that's what this rock is, but you never know. You know, and our job is to watch and pray, you know what I mean? And so that we can, you know, be ready when things that are predicted in scriptures do happen. We have another article. The U.S. and Russian warships nearly collide in the Pacific. Let's get to that one. It says, U.S. and Russian warships nearly collide in the Pacific. The United States and Russian navies are at odds over an apparent near collision in the Pacific Friday, with each side blaming the other. The U.S. and Russian warships came somewhere between 50 feet and 165 feet of each other, according to the two opposing reports, with both sides alleging their ships were forced to perform emergency maneuvers to avoid a collision, which can be seen in video and a picture of the event obtained by CNN. In the video taken from the American ship, the two ships were so close that the Russian sailors can be seen appearing to sunbathe on the stern of their vessel. A Russian destroyer made an unsafe maneuver against the USS Chancellorsville, closing to 50 to 100 feet, putting the safety of her crew and the ship at risk. The U.S. spokesman, Commander Clayton Dawes, told CNN in a statement, "This unsafe action forced Chancellorsville to execute all engine back full and to maneuver to avoid collision," Dawes said. The latest incident comes just 2 days after the U.S. Navy accused Russia of intercepting a U.S. aircraft and amid tensions with Moscow on a wide range of geopolitical issues. I think we have another report. Let me see if I can bring that up. It says, sending a message. Retired Rear Admiral and CNN military analyst John Kirby added, that the timing of the encounter is also noteworthy, as it coincides with Xing's visit to Moscow. Xing is China's, whatever you want to call him, leader or chancellor or whatever. Clearly, this sends a strong message to President Xing from Putin's perspective that we are on your team. Kirby told CNN Jim's Saluta. We have seen the Russians and Chinese cooperate increasingly when it suits their interests, he said, adding that the two countries participate in a major military exercise together just last year. And you can get that off of CNN Politics. And CNN.com. Okay, so let's get into our lesson, the fallen ones and their judgment. Let's go to, we're going to start off in the book of Isaiah, chapter 14, verses 12 through 17. We're going to take a look at the fall of the first set of angels. Because according to what we read, there was at least two sets of angels that fell, probably a lot more, but at least we're going to go over the first two sets. We're in the book of Isaiah, chapter 14, and we are going to start at the 12th verse. Ready when you ready, Ahch.
Isaiah chapter 14, verse 12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations?
How art thou cut down to the ground, O Lucifer? Go ahead.
Verse 13. For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of the Most High. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north.
Okay, so how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer? We're going to find out of just how he fell from heaven. O son of the morning, that's his nickname, so to speak, the morning star. So Satan says that he will ascend back into heaven and he will exalt his throne above the stars of the Most High. And he will sit on the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. And we will find out that the fallen ones, second set, came down to Mount, what's that, Hermon?
Hermon.
And set up shop down there, exactly where they have a UN building, that same spot, way up in the mountains where nothing else is. They got a UN building sitting up there in the snow, on the sides of the north. Let's hit that precept. The Ahch got a precept for us.
Psalms 48, verse 2. Beautiful for situation, the joy of the whole earth is Mount Zion, on the sides of the north, the city of the great king.
Okay, and for those who don't lose that, because we know.
2.
What is that?
Psalms 48, verse 2.
Okay, that's Psalms 48, verse 2, for those keeping record. And that's a precept to what we just read. Continue on.
Verse 14. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High.
Okay, so he said, I will ascend above the clouds, and that he will be like the Most High. Makes me think of, how the Most High has his angels looking down, which we will find out in this lesson that are called the Watchers. It's funny now how, Satan's technology has all these satellites all over the sky in the heavens.
Angel technology.
Yeah. Satan's devil technology that looks down upon the whole earth and can keep record of everything going on in the earth. Can pinpoint you on the street if it wants to. It can go that precise.
He's a copycat.
Yeah, he's a copycat.
He tries to mimic everything the Most High does.
Yeah, he's swole. You know what I mean? He's swole because he got kicked out of heaven. They waged a war and they lost. We're going to get into all of that. Go ahead, Ahch.
Verse 15. Yet thou should be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit.
Okay, and that's the Most High's promise, that he will be brought down to hell and to the sides of the pit. He think he's chilling up there on the sides of the north, but when it's all said and done, he's going to be brought down to the sides of the pit.
That was Isaiah 14, Isaiah 14, verse 15.
Right. Okay, Ahch, go ahead.
Isaiah chapter 14, verse 16. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms?
Okay, so we see his day is coming. You know what I mean? He's allowed to wreak havoc for a time, but he knows his time is short. And he's going ham while he has the opportunity. But it's going to come a time when people are going to look at him and be like, wow, this is the dude that was creating all that havoc, you know what I mean, that did make the kingdoms to shake. You know what I mean? This is what had the whole world all shook up. And, what's the word they use? How he would deceive the whole world. You know what I mean? Is that dude that had the whole world deceived? Let's hit that last scripture in Isaiah.
Verse 17. That made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners.
Man, he's got his day coming. But right now, he's allowed to do his thing for a time. Until the time of the consummation. And he will be chained and bound, but only for 1,000 years, only to come back for a time before he gets his final doom. Let's go to the book of Luke. And Luke chapter 10 and get the 18th verse.
Go ahead.
We're talking about the fall of the first set of the angels, the ones that fell when Satan lost the battle in heaven, and they all came with him, which we will expound on. How about the first set of angels that fell? We're in the book of Luke. We're in the 10th chapter, and we're going to hit the 18th verse.
Luke chapter 10, verse 18. And he said unto them, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven.
Okay. He beheld Satan as lightning which fell from heaven. As we know, there's a lot of ways that these fallen angels fall down to earth. What they call shooting stars. What's another word? Meteors and comets. That's a good one. Nothing but the fallen angels falling to earth. They sit at the firmament, but they can only sit up there for a moment before they have to come back down, or pull back down to earth. So that's going to take us to the book of Revelations. We're going to hit the 12th chapter. That's the last book in your New Testament. And we're going to read more up on Lucifer and his descent and what caused his descent out of heaven, his fall from heaven. The fallen ones and their judgment is the name of this lesson. We're in the book of Revelations, chapter 12. We're going to start at the first verse, and we're going to end it at the 12th verse.
Always make that noise when we doing the lesson.
Go ahead, first verse, and we're going to end up at the 12th verse.
I got you. Revelation chapter 12, verse 1. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars.
Okay, that woman we know is a symbolic of the nation of Israel. And upon her head a crown of 12 stars, which represent the 12 tribes of Israel. Go ahead.
Verse 2. And she being with child cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered.
And she being with child, she cried in travail, just like every other woman that is ready to give birth.
Verse 3. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads.
Okay, and through the last few lessons that we've had, we know exactly what horns represent and crowns represent. So the great red dragon appeared, and you know what? This actually played out in the stars, in the constellations. I believe it's been 2 years now. On September 23rd, 2 years ago, this played out in the constellations, what we're reading right now in Revelations chapter 12. Go ahead.
Verse 4. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born.
Okay, that dragon, which we will get an expansion on in a few minutes, is Satan. And his tail, when he was cast out, drew a third of the angels with him. He actually asked for a third, and he was granted a third of the stars, or the angels, because angels are stars. They can, shape shift, or whatever you want to call it, into many different things, which we will read today. But a lot of angels have the duty of being stars in the sky. That is their duty, night in and night out. He drew a third of the angels with him. The child that was ready to be born is our Lord and Savior. Go ahead.
Verse 5. And she brought forth a man-child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up into the Most High, into his throne.
Go ahead.
Verse 6. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she had a place prepared of the Most High, that they should feed her 1,260 days.
Okay, we've been through this in previous lessons. Time, and the dividing of times.
Verse 7. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought against his angels.
So, a war was put forth in heaven. Michael, the archangel, and his crew fought against Satan and his crew.
Verse 8. And prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven.
So once that war was over and Satan's crew took the L, they were kicked out of heaven. And that's why they're called the fallen ones.
And the great dragon was cast out, that the old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him.
Okay. So once again, Satan and his crew, that great dragon, that beast, that great beast was cast out down to the earth, and his crew with him.
Verse 10. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, Now is come salvation and strength, in the kingdom of our power, and the power of his anointed, Yashaya. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our power day and night.
Yeah, that's Satan. That's his number one thing he likes doing. He likes accusing us to the Most High. Like, I know I'm getting this one. Oh, yeah, man, look how he's acting. I know you're going to give me this dude right here. You know what I'm saying? He even was the accuser of Moses. Am I right?
Yeah.
I mean, he attended for Moses' soul. You know? I mean, he does that. That's what his number one thing he likes to do, is contend for each and every one of our souls, day and night.
Verse 11. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb, and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death.
Okay. And they overcame him by the blood of Yashaya, the anointed, or Savior, through faith, like we just had in the lesson last week, and grace, which is how we are saved, through the blood of Yashaya. If you don't believe that he is, you have no shot at salvation, period.
Verse 12. Yes, something to say that?
No.
Verse 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time.
He knows his time is short. He was part of the crew that would never die. You know, he's up in the heavens. They were never, ever supposed to die. They were supposed to live forever and ever and ever. But once he transgressed and did what he did, then there was a time period put on his life. Of course, we know you cannot kill a spirit. But when we say death, we're talking about punishment by fire and brimstone, eternally, tormenting of your soul. That is what death means to the spirit. Because the spirit cannot be killed, as you know, literally, but it can be tormented forever and ever, which is the fate of him and his crew that came with him. But woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the sea, which we're going to find out why the sea also. Because the devil came down and his crew, and they wreaked havoc on man, beast, the fish in the sea, the fowls of the air, and we're going to go into all of them scriptures today. You know, but praise AHAYAH that his time is only for a short time. He has a time limit, and his time limit is just about up. That's going to take us to the book of 1 Peter. And we're going to hit one verse out of 1 Peter. We're going to go to the second chapter. And we're going to get one verse out of 1 Peter, which is after the book of James. I'm sorry, Salakia, 2 Peter, the second chapter and verse 4. The book of 2 Peter, chapter 2 and verse 4.
2 Peter chapter 2 verse 4. If AHAYAH spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto judgment.
Okay, little precept for everyone, because by like precepts, that's how we get understanding out of this book that the Romans took and fricasseed, thinking that they were going to confuse us and that we would not be able to understand this book. We praise AHAYAH that, you know, his word will always prevail. Whereby are given unto us exceeding great and precious promises, that by these ye might be partakers of the divine nature. Is that it? No. I'm sorry, I read the wrong verse. Okay. The water up. For if the Most High spared not the angels that sent, he spared them not, but cast them down to hell and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved until the judgment. So all of the Satan's crew is bound and chained in darkness, waiting to be reserved unto the final judgment. We're going to get more expansion on that. But first we're going to go to the second crew of angels and the secrets they taught mankind and why their fate is going to be just like the first set. That's going to take us into the book of Enoch. We're going to be in the book of Enoch a lot today. Enoch, Second Esdras, Sirach. We had a lot of extra biblical text, so to speak. But these books were taken out of the original scriptures. These books were in the original Bibles, were taken out by the Romans after we fell in 70 AD. Sometime around 320 AD, all the way up to the 1600s, they start trying to transform our book, take books out, because these books say too much. They expose too much, and they didn't want us to learn these things or to know these things. So as opposed to rewriting and all that, they just took them out. And we're going to get a couple precepts out of the canonical books to show that Enoch is mentioned in the Bible and known as a righteous man in the Bible. So, because a lot of people don't ascribe to Enoch because they, it's not in the Bible. Oh, what are you guys reading? Well, you got to do your research and history and know that it was in the Bible. They took these books out. We're in the book of Enoch, chapter 6.
Sorry, excuse me. Your dad has a question here. He's wondering if the angels, the fallen ones, are chained up, then how are they wreaking so much havoc? So I guess he needs a distinction between the ones that's causing calamity and the ones that are chained up in the verse that we just read in 2 Peter.
Well, we're going to find out that the spirits of their offspring, when they made it with humans, those giants, when they died, their spirits are creating havoc in the earth. Of course, along with Satan and, you know what I mean? But yeah, a lot of them are the spirits of the Nephilim, the offspring of the fallen angels mating with human women. And we're going to get to that. Okay. So we're in the book of Enoch, chapter 6, and we're going to get verses 1 through 6. This is the second fall of the angels and the secrets they taught mankind.
Enoch chapter 6 verse 1. And it came to pass when the children of men had multiplied, that in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters.
Okay, so once the children of men begin to multiply in those days, there were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters. Comely means attractive, good to look at. Go ahead.
And the angels, the children of the heaven, saw and lusted after them, and said to one another, Come, let us choose us wives from among the children of men, and beget us children.
Okay, so the watchers, the angels, before they fell, their job was to watch and report what we do on the earth to the Most High. Well, they got to watching and started lusting after the women. Go ahead.
And Shemjaza, who was their leader, said unto them, I fear ye will not indeed agree to do this deed, and I alone shall have to pay the penalty of a great sin.
Okay, Shemjaza, one of the leaders, there's, just like the military is set up, where you have captains and corporals and generals, and lieutenants, same system in the heavens. They got angels, like Satan was a leader in heaven, or leaders over a crew of angels. Shemjaza was their leader. Okay, they're up there like, you know what? We should take these women and take some wives and, beget us some children. That was not their portion. They are angels. They are to live forever. And because they had, no life, expiration, they weren't given wives. We were given wives because we had an expiration date, so that we, didn't have anything to, so it would make our lives more fulfilling. The Most High allowed us to have children, but that was not for the angels. Go ahead.
The last part of verse 4. And they all answered him and said, Let us all swear an oath, and all bind ourselves by mutual imprecations. Verse 5, not to abandon this plan, but to do this thing. Then swear they all together, and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it.
Okay, so Shemjaza is like, listen, I fear that this, I'm going to do this deed alone, and myself, is going to be the only one that's going to have to give an account of this sin that I'm about to commit. I'm the only one that's going to have to pay this penalty. And they all answered him and said, let us all swear an oath together. And they bound themselves by mutual implications that they were all going to do this thing. They're going to leave their post in heaven as watchers and reporters over us and come down here and commit this great sin. Excuse me. So they all swore together and bound themselves mutually upon it.
And they were all, and there were in all 200 who descended in the days of Jared on the summit of Mount Hermon. And they called it Mount Hermon, because they have sworn and bound themselves by mutual implications upon it.
Okay. Like I said, Mount Hermon, where the angels fell. I know if you guys, especially in Babylon, aka America, what's that movie company where they show the stars coming down and skimming across the water, and then it makes a circle around that mountain? Yeah, that's symbolic of the fallen angels coming down and making a pact on Mount Hermon. That's exactly what that symbolizes.
6 or 6 through 7.
1
And like I said earlier, Mount Hermon is where the UN, the United Nations, put their main headquarters right up there in the mountains. Ain't nothing else up there except that building where Satan said he would set himself up in the mount of the congregation, where the angels congregated on the sides of the north, where the fallen angels congregated. Go ahead, Ahch.
And these are the names of their leaders. Sammiazah, their leader, Rawchaa, Ramiel, Kokobiel, Tamiel, Ramiel, Daniel, Ezekiel, Barakwadah, Asael, Amaros, Batarel, Ananel, Zaquiel, Samsapiel, Satarel, Torel, Omjajiel, Saraiel. These are the chiefs of the 10. AHAYAH, Yashaya rebuke these names in Yashaya's name.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like saying these names because they think they're going to invoke spirits. But these dudes are all bound in the earth as we speak, in darkness. And they were the chiefs of 10s. Each of them had 10 soldiers underneath them. Thus the 200. Okay. Let's see where we at. Let's stay in the book of Enoch, and we're going to hit chapter 7 and hit verses 1 through 6.
Enoch chapter 7 verse 1. And all the others together with them took unto themselves wives, and each chose for himself one, and they began to go in unto them and to defile themselves with them. And they taught them charms and enchantments and the cuttings of roots, and made them acquainted with plants, and they became pregnant. And they bare great giants, whose height was 3,000 ells, who consumed all the acquisitions of men.
Okay. When you finish that chapter, that paragraph, let me know. We're going to go to a little precept in Genesis.
Okay, yeah. I'm done. Oh, the full paragraph or just...
Oh, yeah, that's cool. Yeah. You know what? We're going to hit a precept real quick for y'all to show you how precise the book of Enoch is and how it correlates and just goes more in depth with what the scriptures, the canonical books say. We're in the book of Genesis, chapter 6 and verse 4 for a precept to what we are reading right now in the book of Enoch.
Genesis chapter 6 verse 4. There were giants in the earth in
Well,
those
you know
days.
what? I'm sorry. Start at the first verse.
Okay. Genesis chapter 6 verse 1. And it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them. Verse 2. That the sons of the Most High saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. Verse 3. And the Most High AHAYAH said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days should be 120 years. Verse 4. There were giants in the earth in those days. And also after that, when the sons of the Most High came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown.
Mm-hmm. So as we can see, that correlates exactly with what scriptures of Genesis, the first book in the Bible, is stating to us. Just a little more in depth with Enoch. We're going to continue in the book of Enoch. We're in the 7th chapter. What verse are we on?
Verse 5.
Go ahead.
And they began to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish, and to devour one another's flesh and drink the blood.
Okay, so they began to sin also against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish. Way to go, sis. So we're still in the book of Enoch, and it's chapter 8. We're in chapter 8, verses 1 through 4.
Book of Enoch, chapter 8, verse 1. And Azazel taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth, and the art of working them in bracelets and ornaments, and the use of autonomy, and the beautifying of the eyelids, and all kinds of costly stones, and all coloring tinctures.
Okay, let's get some clarity on these words here. He said, Azazel taught men to make swords. They didn't know how to make swords before that. And knives and shields and breastplates, and made known to them the metals that were in the earth, and the art of working with the metals, how to work with these metals to make these weapons, and bracelets and ornaments and things that beautify, you know, and the use of antimony. Now, antimony is a chemical element that can be found on the periodic table as the atomic symbol Sb. Knowledge of it dates back to biblical times when antimony minerals were used in products such as cosmetics. So now they was teaching the women how to use makeup. Antimony is used for a variety of products such as flame retardants and lead batteries. They taught women how to start using eyeshadow and makeup to allure men, and all coloring tinctures. Tinctures, a medicine made by dissolving a drug in alcohol. Synonym words are solution, suspension, infusion, potion, elixir, extract, essence, quintessence, or concentrate. And it says, the remedies can be administered in form of tinctures as a way to use it in a sentence. So all coloring tinctures. Just so you guys can get a full understanding of what these angels did. Before this period, man did not know how to do these things. So when they slept with these women, they start teaching them how to beautify themselves and make bracelets and ornaments, and the use of antimony, and the all coloring tinctures, mixtures, you know, making all these different colors. Go ahead.
And there arose much godlessness, and they committed fornication, and they were led astray and became corrupt in all their ways. Shemjaza taught enchantments and root cuttings. Amaros, the resolving of enchantments. Barakwadwell taught astrology. Kokobel, the constellations. Ezekiel, the knowledge of the clouds. Araquael, the signs of the earth. Shamsiel, the signs of the sun. And Sarael, the course of the moon. And as men perished, they cried, and they cried went up to heaven. AHAYAH, Yashaya rebuke these names.
Okay, so, and there arose much godlessness, and they committed fornication. I did have that definition drawn up. If somebody wants to draw that up for me, that definition. And they were led astray. Mankind began to be led astray and became corrupt in all their ways.
Shalom, bro.
Shalom. Shemjaza taught enchantments and root cuttings. Amorose, the resolving of enchantments. They taught them how to look and read astrology and the constellations and the knowledge of the clouds and the signs of the earth, the signs of the sun, and the course of the moon. And as men perished, they began to cry, and their cries went all the way up into heaven. Who got the definition for me?
Where you at?
We're in the book of Enoch. Sorry, hold on.
Chapter what?
Chapter 8, verses. Just got done before. Stop that. Stop this, sis. Stop the. Here's my definition that I have for fornication. One of them. I'm not going to go into all of them. But it's generally consensual sexual intercourse between two people not married to each other. For many people, the term carries an overtone of moral or religious disapproval, with significance of sexual acts to which the term is applied varies between religions, societies, and cultures. Okay, so we're in a book of Enoch, and we're in chapter 9.
Enoch chapter 9 verse 1. And then Michael, Uriel, Raphael, and Gabriel looked down from heaven and saw much blood being shed upon the earth, and all lawlessness being wrought upon the earth. And they said one to another, the earth made without inhabitant cried the voice of their cries up to the gates of heaven. Verse 3. And now to you, the holy ones of heaven, the souls of men, make their suit, saying, bring our cause before the Most High. And they said to the Lord of the ages, Lord of lords, God of gods, King of kings, and the God of the ages, the throne of thy glory standeth unto all the generations of the ages, and thy name holy and glorious and blessed unto all the ages.
Okay, hold up. Let me sum this up for these people. So we got the Michael, who is one of the archangels, Gabriel, of course, another one, Uriel, Raphael. They came together and then looked down from heaven, and they saw much blood being shed on the earth because of Azazel teaching all these men how to make weapons and shields and breastplates. And they saw a lot of lawlessness being wrought upon the earth. And they said to one another, the earth made without inhabitant cries the voice of their crying up to the gates of heaven. And now to you, the holy ones of heaven, the souls of men make their suit, saying, bring our cause before the Most High. They're crying like, aren't you guys going to do something? Tell the Most High what is going on down here. And they said to the Most High, the Lord of ages, the Lord of lords, the God of gods, the King of kings, and the God of the ages. They let him know what exactly was going on down on earth. Go ahead,
Thou hast made all things and power over all things, as thou, and all things are naked and open in thy sight, and thou seest all things. Verse 6. And nothing can hide itself from thee. Thou seest what Azazel hath done, who hath taught men, who hath taught all unrighteousness on earth, and revealed the eternal secrets which were preserved in heaven, which men were striving to learn. Lucky, I lost my spot.
No problem.
Keep you going.
Okay, so they it says they seen what Azazel has done, who have taught all unrighteousness on the earth, and revealed the eternal secrets which were preserved. All the secrets that were preserved in heaven, which men were striving to learn. Azazel let all the cats out of the bag. All the ones he knew. He don't know them all, but the ones that he knew, he told man. And man began to start to destroy themselves because of it, and to lust and to do all type of unrighteousness on the earth because of the not the archangel, but the fallen angel Azazel. Go ahead.
Verse 8. And Semjeza, to whom thou hast given authority to bear rule over, man, these words are small, his associates. And they have gone to the daughters of men upon the earth, and have slept with the women, and have defiled themselves, and revealed to them all kinds of blood. And the women have borne giants, and the whole earth has therefore, or thereby, been filled with blood and all unrighteousness. And now behold, the souls of those who have died are crying, and making their suit to the gates of heaven. And their lamentations have ascended, and cannot cease because of the lawless deeds which are wrought on the earth. And thou knowest all things before they come to pass. And thou seest these things, and thou doest suffer them, and thou doest not say to us what we are to do to them in regard to these.
Okay. Unrighteousness, not righteous, wicked, vicious, and unrighteous passions. You really don't got the same reading as you.
Yeah, I know.
Sinful, wicked, evil. Where we at,
Book of Enoch, chapter 10.
verse? Oh, okay, you finished that verse? Okay, it's time for some precepts. First off, let's hit Jubilees. We're going to go to the book of Jubilees and hit the 8th chapter and expound more on what Azazel and Semjeza did and just flipped the whole way mankind was living. Mankind did not have a clue on none of these things until they brought it forth from having sex with women, teaching them how to put makeup on, how to defile themselves, how to get men to lust after them, how to get men to make weapons of war from the metals in the earth, how to make breastplates and shields, and there was much blood that began to be spilled because of it, and much fornication because of it, where it wasn't so before that. Give everybody a chance to get there who has their book, the book of Jubilees, chapter 8. We're going to hit the verses 1 through 5. Any questions? No questions? So let's go ahead and let's go. We're in the book of Jubilees, chapter 8, starting at the first verse.
Jubilees, chapter 8, verse 1. In the 29th Jubilee, in the first week, in the beginning thereof, Rawchaa took to himself a wife, and her name was Rawchaa, the daughter of Susan, the daughter of Elam. And she bare him a son in the 3rd year in this week, and he called his name Canaan. And the son grew, and his father taught him writings, and he went to seek for himself a place where he might seize for himself a city. And he found a writing which former generations has carved on the rock, and he read what was thereon, and he transcribed it and sinned owing to it, for it contained the teachings of the watchers in accordance with which they used to observe the omens of the sun and moon and the stars, and all the signs of heaven.
Okay, so what's his name?
Canaan.
Canaan. You know, he was wandering around looking for, himself a city to seize, and he found some inscriptions on a rock that was left from former generations of the watchers, Sanjaza and Azazel and them, writing these things on rocks on how to observe the omens and the sun and the moon and the stars, and how to observe the signs of heaven, which we are not supposed to know. Go ahead.
And he wrote it down and said nothing regarding it, for he was afraid to speak to Noah about it, lest he should be afraid with him on account of it.
And my scriptures will say, lest he should be angry with him on account of it. What you got for us up?
It's a precept. Canaan and Canaan is the same.
Okay, so that's who that was?
So when we go to the book of Yashaya, chapter 2, verse 11, it says, in Canaan...
Hold on. Give him a chance. Yashaya 2
and 11.
This is a precept. So, okay, I can see that. Canaan, that's another way of saying Canaan. So, okay. And I got the dates for this too, like it says in the 29th Jubilee in the first week, which was the year 1373 A.M. That A.M. has something to do with Adam. Adam, you know what that means, A.M.? I know it has something to do with Adam, from the time of Adam. And in the 3rd week, which is 1375 A.M., and he called his name Canaan. Okay, so that was Canaan. That's where the land of Canaan came from. He went to seize for himself a city. So we're in the book of Jubilees with this precept. The book of Yashaya, chapter 2, verse 11. Go ahead.
Book of Yashaya, chapter 2, verse 11. And Canaan grew up, and he was 40 years old, and he became wise and had knowledge and skill in all wisdom. And he reigned over all the sons of men, and he led the sons of men to wisdom and knowledge. But Canaan was a very wise man and had understanding in all wisdom. And with his wisdom he ruled over spirits and demons.
Okay, because he stumbled upon that inscription carved in the rock from the fallen angels, a.k.a. the watchers. You know what I mean? He was able to, amass himself a large kingdom because of it, because of the knowledge that he read off of that rock, which other layman humans did not have. So he was able to dominate them and rule over them. And he ruled the earth in that time, as we just read. Okay, look, we got some more precepts. We got the wisdom of Sirach. We're in the wisdom of Sirach, a.k.a. Ecclesiasticus. 43rd chapter. Yes. Ecclesiasticus, or the Wisdom of Sirach, chapter 43. These are the books they took out from the scriptures because they don't want us knowing these things. It says too much. It explains too much. So the Roman Catholic Church, what was his name back then? Back in 320 AD, what was the...
Constantine.
Yeah, Flavius Constantine took these books out of our records when they put us asleep to who we were as a nation of people. They also took these books out so we wouldn't wake up to who we were and to get this knowledge of these end time and what happened in the earth. Very important information they took out of the Bible. We are in the Wisdom of Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 43. We're going to hit verses 9 and 10. These are precepts to the second fall of the angels and the secrets they taught man.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 43, verse 9. The beauty of heaven, the glory of the stars, an ornament giving light in the highest places of the Most High. Verse 10. At the commandment of the Holy One, they will stand in their order and never faint in their watches.
That's right. They have their orders and their commandments to shine and come out in a certain place every single night. And just like the moon has its orders, so does the sun. And they carry them out flawlessly and perfectly, year in and year out. All of the luminaries are nothing but angels. I should say nothing but you know, are all angels carrying out their commandments of the Most High. We are to look at them for signs and for, you know, so that we can know the time and what season. But we were told a little too much on how to read these constellations through these fallen angels. Certain things we were not supposed to know. Okay, so let's go back to the cannibals and hit Daniel. Another precept, Daniel chapter 4, 13th verse. These are all precepts to what we just read, the second fall of the angels and the secrets they taught.
Daniel chapter 4, verse 13.
The watchers, aka the fallen ones. There's holy watchers, which means the ones that are still up there doing their job. But the ones that are just called the watchers, they're you know, they're the fallen ones. So when you hear the holy watchers, we know those are the watchers that are up there still doing their duty to watch us and give an account of what we're doing down here on the earth. Go ahead,
Daniel chapter 4, verse 13. I saw in the visions of my head upon my bed, and behold, a watcher, and the Holy One came down from heaven.
Okay. A watcher and a holy one came down from heaven. Little precept, that's all. That's how we get understanding, because, you know, a lot of people want to dispel these extra biblical texts because they don't know any better. They don't know that it was originally in the book. What we got? Okay, go ahead,
Verse 17. This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basis of men.
Okay, for anybody that's having trouble keeping up, this is the book of Daniel, chapter 4. We got 3 verses out of here that are precepts to show that this book does mention the holy watchers. That was verse 17 that the Ahch just read. And we got 23, right? We got verse 23 next.
Verse 23. And whereas the king saw a watcher and a holy one coming down from heaven and saying, hew the tree down and destroy it, yet leave the stump of the roots thereof in the earth, even with a band of iron and brass, and the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beasts of the field, till 7 times pass over him.
Okay, so we know from prior lessons that they're talking about King Nebuchadnezzar here, and when he was given a beast heart, and he was roaming around on all fours for 7 years, or 7 times passed over him, because he blasphemed the Most High by saying all his riches and everything he amassed, his kingdoms, came because of what he did. The Most High got mad, smote him, gave him a heart of a beast. He lost his kingdom, and he crawled around on all fours and ate the grass of the field for 7 times over. Just to let him know that the Most High rules in the heavens and the earth, and he gives power to whoever he chooses. Nebuchadnezzar was not the best, righteous dude or nothing like that, but he allowed him to rule and reign over mankind for his purposes. And when Nebuchadnezzar, didn't give any credit, said that the credit was all his own, the reason why he got all that power, the Most High showed him that you ain't have nothing to do with it. So that's something for all of us to remember and think about. So we're going to go to the judgment of the fallen ones and those that worship and deceive. We're back in the book of Enoch. We're going to hit the 10th chapter. A lot of Enoch today. Enoch, he was a man. We might, if we got time, we'll go to the precept of Enoch in the canonical books and why the Most High blessed him so much with all this knowledge, and why the fallen ones came to him to intercede for what they had done to mankind. We're back in the book of Enoch, chapter 10. We're going from verses 1 through 15. Go ahead.
Enoch chapter 10, verse 1. Then said the Most High, the Holy and Great One, spake and sent Uriel to the son of Lamech, and said to him, Go to Noah, and tell him my name. Hide thyself, and reveal to him the end that is approaching, that the whole earth will be destroyed, and a deluge is about to come upon the whole earth, and will destroy all that is on it.
Okay, so the angel Uriel, the Most High sent Uriel to go speak to the son of Lamech, a.k.a. Enoch, and to go to tell Noah, yo, Most High about to destroy all of this. You know what I mean? So, this expounds on the Bible about Noah and how Noah found out that the world was about to come to an end, and how to build the ark and things of that nature. It was because of Enoch. Go ahead.
Verse 4. And now instruct him that he may escape, and his seed may be preserved for all the generations of the world.
and instruct him that he may escape and his seed, and may preserve for all generations of the world.
And again the Most High said to Raphael, bind Azazel hand and foot, and cast him into the darkness, and make an opening in the desert, which is in the Dudiel, and cast him therein.
Okay, so this is the Most High after the archangels ran and told him what was going on in the earth. He's like, okay, it's time to destroy the earth. I'm sick of it. I repent that I even made man. He's like, first off, run tell Noah, I'm about to destroy the earth, and him and his family is going to be the only ones I'm going to save. And secondly, go bind Azazel for doing what he did. Bind him hand and foot, and cast him into darkness, into the opening in the desert, which is in Dudiel, and cast him in there. Go ahead.
And place upon him rough and jagged rocks, and cover him with darkness, and let him abide there forever, and cover his face that he may not see light. And on the day of the great judgment he shall be cast into the fire, and heal the earth which the angels have corrupted, and proclaim the healing of the earth, that they may heal the plague, and that all the children of men may not perish through all the secret things that the watchers have disclosed, and have taught their sons.
Okay, so Azazel currently is placed upon rough and jagged rocks, and he's covered in darkness, and he's going to abide there forever until the final judgment, until the day of consummation. And go ahead.
Verse 9, and the whole earth has been corrupted through the works that were taught by Azazel. To him ascribe all sin.
Okay, so even though it was Azazel and his crew, the whole earth was corrupted, the Most High said, we're going to give it all to Azazel. We're going to ascribe all of that to him, because he was the one who made he didn't make them, but he rounded them up and told them all, are we going to do this thing or not? So all sin is ascribed to him that had befell the earth in those days. All the secret things the watchers disclosed to us, our ancestors, is all accredited to Azazel. Go ahead.
Middle of verse 9. So Gabriel said the Most High, proceed against the bastards and the reprobates, and against the children of fornication, and destroy the children of fornication and the children of the watchers from amongst men, and cause them to go forth, send them one against the other, that they may destroy each other in battle. For length of days shall they have not, and no request that they, their fathers, make of thee shall be granted unto their fathers on their behalf. For they hope to live an eternal life, and that each one of them will live 500 years. And
okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, hold on to that, because I got a couple definitions for y'all. It mentioned in verse 9, it might be another verse in somebody else's book, but in my book it's verse 9. And Gabriel said, the Lord proceed against the bastards and the reprobates. Bastard, an unpleasant or despicable person, a scoundrel, a villain, a rogue, a rascal, a brute, a snake, a monster, an ogre. And reprobates, the reprobates, an unprincipled person, rogue, rascal, scoundrel, villain, wretch. Also, unprincipled, wicked, bad, roguish, shameless, immoral, degenerate, debauched. And we have some definition of debauchery, excessive indulgence in sex, alcohol, or drugs. So it says, and against the children of fornication, and destroy the children of fornication, and the children of the watchers from among men. So the Nephilim, the children of the watchers, from having sex with women, the fallen ones, the fallen angels having sex with women, it's saying destroy the children of the watchers from among men. The giants, send them one against each other, that they may destroy each other in battle. For length of days shall they not have. And no request that they, their fathers, make of thee shall be granted unto their fathers on their behalf. Their fathers, the watchers, had request that they may live 500 years. But the orders coming down from the Most High was like, we're not granting that request. They're going to kill themselves off in battle. And anybody who don't believe there was giants walking the earth, there's bones all over the earth, I suggest you go and research that. All over the earth. Giant, I mean superhuman giants, where somebody, one of their fingers might have been as big as one of us. Go ahead, just to keep everybody up on what's going on here. Go ahead,
Verse 12. And the Most High said unto Michael, go bind Shemjaza and his associates, who have united themselves with women, so as to have defiled themselves with them in all their uncleanness. Verse 12. And when their sons have slain one another, and they have seen the destruction of their beloved ones, bind them fast for 70 generations in the valleys of the earth, to the day of their judgment and of their consummation, till the judgment that is forever and ever is consummated.
Okay, hold on there, So, the Most High told Michael, one of the archangels, go and bind Shemjaza and his associates, whom have united themselves with women, so as to have defiled themselves with them in all their uncleanness. Uncleanness, dirty, filthy, morally or spiritually impure, infected with a harmful supernatural contagion. And then their sons have slain one another, and they have seen the destruction of their beloved ones, saying that the fallen angels have seen the destruction of their beloved ones, their children, killing each other, and bind those for 70 generations in the valleys of the earth until their judgment and of their consummation, till the judgment that is forever and ever is consummated. Go ahead.
Verse 14. In those days they should be led off to the abyss of fire, and to the torment in the prison, in which they should be confounded forever. And whosoever should be condemned and destroyed will from thenceforth be bound together with them to the end of all generations, and destroy all the spirits of the reprobate and the children of the watchers, because they have wronged mankind. Destroy all wrong from the face of the earth, and let every evil work come to an end, and let the plant of righteousness and truth appear. And it shall prove a blessing. The work of righteousness and truth shall be planted in truth and joy forevermore.
This is all that took place right before God sent the flood and Noah built the ark. This is the things that were going on in the earth at that time. So that's going to take us, we're going to stay in the book of Enoch. We're going to move up a couple chapters to chapter 14. going to stay in the book of Enoch. This is the judgment of the fallen ones and those that worship and deceive. Book of Enoch, chapter 14, verse 1 through 7.
Enoch chapter 14 verse 1. The book of the words of righteousness and of the reprimand of the eternal watchers in accordance with the command of the Holy Great One in that vision. I saw in my sleep what I will now say with a tongue of flesh and with the breath of my mouth, which the Great One has given to men to converse therewith and understand with the heart. As he has created and given to the man the power of understanding, the word of wisdom, so have he created me also and given me the power of reprimanding the watchers, the children of heaven. I wrote out your petition, and in my vision it appeared thus, that your petition would not be granted unto you throughout all the days of eternity, and that the judgment has been finally passed upon you. Yea, your petition will not be granted unto you.
Okay, hold that thought up. He said, as I slept, and now I will now say with the tongue of his flesh and with the breath of his mouth what the Great One has given to him in understanding of his heart. That the holy, not the holy watchers, but the watchers, the fallen ones, the demons, came to him, Enoch, with a petition, okay, wanting to petition for him to give this petition to the Most High. Now all of a sudden, since all this judgment's coming down on them, now they're sorry. And I got a definition on that word petition. A formal written request, typically one signed by many people appealing to authority in respect of a particular cause. So they petition the Most High, like to say, we're sorry, Abba, you know what I mean? Like they done came down here and ran amok. Now they petitioning the Most High for forgiveness. But as we read in my verse 4, it says, the petition, your petition, will not be granted unto you. And the judgment has finally been passed upon you. Go ahead.
Book of Enoch, chapter 14, verse 6. And from henceforth you shall not ascend into heaven unto all eternity. And in bonds of the earth the decree has gone forth to bind you for all the days of the world, and that previously ye should have seen the destruction of your beloved sons, and ye should have no pleasure in them. But they shall fall before you by the sword, and your petition on their behalf shall not be granted, nor yet on your own. That's it.
Okay. So that was the book of Enoch, chapter 14, verses 1 through 7. Okay. Okay, so we're in the book of Enoch, chapter 16, very first verse.
Enoch chapter 16, verse 1. From the days of the slaughter and destruction and death of the giants, from the souls of whose flesh the spirits have gone forth, shall destroy without incurring judgment. Thus shall they destroy until the day of the consummation, the great judgment in which the age shall be consummated over the watchers and the godless, yea, shall be wholly consummated. And now as to the watchers who have sent to thee to intercede for them who have been aforetime in heaven, say to them, you have been in heaven, but all the mysteries had not yet been revealed to you. And ye knew worthless ones, and these in the hardness of your heart you have made known to the women, and through these mysteries women and men work much evil on earth. Say to them therefore, you have no peace.
Okay, so that's what I was talking about earlier. They have been in heaven, but all the mysteries had not yet been revealed to them. But the ones that were, they came down here and spilt them all to the humans. And you knew worthless ones, and these in the hardness of your hearts you made known to women, and through these mysteries women and men work much evil. Okay, so now the watchers have sent thee to intercede for them who had been aforetime in heaven. The Most High said, this is what you say to them, Enoch. And that's what Enoch told them. You revealed all these mysteries, man. Say to them, wherefore you have no peace. Okay, so is that it? Okay, so we're going to go to chapter 54. We're still in the book of Enoch, chapter 54, and we're going to hit verses 1 through 6. Okay, we're in the book of Enoch, chapter 54, verses 1 through 6.
Book of Enoch, chapter 54, verse 1. And I looked and turned to another part of the earth, and saw there a deep valley with burning fire. And they brought the kings and the mighty, and began to cast them into the deep valley. And their eyes saw how they made these their instruments, iron chains of immeasurable weight. And I asked the angel of peace who went with me, saying, for whom are these chains being prepared?
Okay, hold on one second. Hold your place. So here's what's going on. And I looked and turned to another part of the earth. This is Enoch, but he's getting his visions. And I saw there a deep valley with burning fire. And they brought the kings and the mighty and began to cast them into this deep valley. And their mind's eyes saw how they made these their instruments, iron chains of immeasurable weight. These chains were so heavy you couldn't measure the weight. And he asked the angel of peace, did you read that part over? Who went with him, saying, for whom are these chains being prepared for? Go ahead.
And he said unto me, these are being prepared for the host of Azazel, so that they may take them and cast them into the abyss of complete condemnation, and they shall cover their jaws with rough stones, as the Most High spirits commanded.
Okay, so these big, immeasurable size chains in weight is all for Azazel and his crew, so that they can cast them into the abyss, being prepared for them, and that they shall cover their jaws with rough stones, as the Most High has commanded. Go ahead.
Verse 6, and Michael and Gabriel and Raphael and Phanuel shall take hold of them on that great day, and cast them on that day into the burning furnace, that the Lord of spirits may take vengeance on them for their unrighteousness in becoming subject to Satan, and leading astray those who dwell on the earth.
Okay, because they became subject to Satan, that is their fate and their judgment. That's the name of this segment of the lesson, the judgment of the fallen ones and those that worship and deceive. Is that it for that, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got a precept for that. And we're going to close it out for this week. And we're back in the book of the regular Bible, or the canonical book, so to speak. We're in the book of Jude. And we're going to hit the first chapter, and we're going to get one verse out of there. Precept to what we just read in Enoch. Book of Jude, chapter 1, verse 6. Go ahead, Ahch.
It's in the Bible, my man. It's in the Bible. I'll find it for you. Jude, verse 6. Book of Jude, verse 6. And the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he hath reserved in everlasting chains under darkness until the judgment of the great day.
Okay, so that's just a precept to go along with what we just read in Enoch, to let you know Enoch corresponds perfectly with scriptures in the Canticles. And okay, we got one more precept. Where we going, Ahch? Let them know where we at.
Revelation 19, verses 20.
Okay, we're in the book of Revelations 19 and 20 for another precept on what we just read in Enoch. Book of Revelations 19 and 20. Go ahead, Ahch.
And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast and them that worship his image. These both were cast alive into a lake of fire, burning with brimstone.
Okay, we went over that in previous lessons. We know who the beast is. We know who the false prophet is. And we know what the image of the beast is. We're going to do as we usually do, and we're going to say the Lord's Prayer, pray out with the Lord's Prayer in Hebrew and then in English. But after Makaahla lead us off in the Hebrew, and then I'll say it in the English.
AHAYAH Yashaya, Ahnah, Shabbat Shemayim, AHAYAH Shemka, AHAYAH Rawchaa, Rawchaa Wanka, AHAYAH Asha, Rawchaa Kawa, AHAYAH Shemayim Lafam, Lanawa Lakong Kal Yawang, Wasalok Nawa, Kabawak Nawa, Kasalok Nawa, Kabawaki Nawa, Wala'ah Ya'anawa, Banasa Yawang, Abal Hawasha Nawa Ma'an, Raikaya Laka, Hamalakwa, Waha Allah, Wahafapa Araf, La, Hawalomium, Shalom, Amar.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. And I want to say to everybody listening in that we will pick this back up next week, same time, Most High willing. Me and Makaahla will be here and graciously fulfilling the Most High's will. And we will see you guys next week. I want to say shalom to everybody out there in on video, in video land. And have a blessed Shabbat, and we'll see you next week. So everybody's still on the line. We can go for some questions. Anybody got any